William Byron brought home the first win of the season after a wild crash coming to the white flag at Daytona.
And drivers are still heated after the intense pack racing at Daytona, but they get to do it all over again this weekend.
There won't be any shortage of excitement as we take on the second Super Speedway style race of the season.
We will take you around the track next.
Welcome to Around the Track. I'm Kim Coon, joined by Ryan Flores, tire changer for the number 12 Ford Mustang in the NASCAR Cup Series. And short week after we raced on Monday, the big question, are you all dried out?
I've got my equipment all dried up. I was ready to leave Daytona. The 12 team wrecked everything we brought down there, so ready to get to Atlanta.
I don't know, is that good news or bad news? Because Atlanta's another drafting style track.
We're good at drafting tracks. We were up front. We just didn't work out for us. So ready to put that one behind us and move on.
Well, there's tons of action happening, and we're going to get you set up whether you're headed to the track or you're watching from home.
Yeah, like you said, a ton of action on track in Atlanta this weekend. It all starts off Saturday with the Truck and Xfinity doubleheader. What are you looking to see there?
That is a big bang for your buck if you're a race fan. The Truck Series, Kyle Busch in the field. I think there's going to be some young drivers that get schooled.
Yeah, he sold his team the Spire, so he's in a Spire truck, and we saw them win last week in Daytona. All four of their trucks were really strong. I'm penciling Kyle Busch in for a win.
Oof. I want to say Kyle Busch, but he hasn't been a guarantee in the last handful of races he's won. But good point how strong Spire was at Daytona. I think that's going to continue into the weekend. Nick Sanchez last week getting his first series win when he raced Atlanta last year, second place finish. So he could go back to back.
Yeah, for sure. And we're talking about guys going back to back. We're going to talk about him later in the show with the OCR car, Austin Hill in the Xfinity Series. Those guys have been dominant. We'll see. I think I'll tune into that just to see if anybody can beat them.
Yeah, Austin Hill's so good when it comes to drafting. Like Ryan said, we'll talk about him later. But if you're a race fan, there's going to be so much action happening in the state of Georgia. If you go down to Golden Isles, it is the high limit sprint cars as well as the dirt track late models.
Yeah, Lucas Oil Late Model Series joining high limits down there. It's going to be sprint cars Thursday, Lucas Oil Late Models Friday, and then they're both coming together on Saturday. And that new high limit series has a lot of buzz around it. Kyle Larson,
yeah. Brad
Sweet, guys like Rico Abreu and Casey Kane are going to be there. And then in the late models, Jonathan Davenport, Ricky Thornton. You're going to get, if you make the trek down there, it's a little bit ways away from Atlanta. So if you make the trek down there, you're going to get your bang for your buck, but it'll also be on your Flow Racing app.
Yeah, you can check that out. Kyle have a busy weekend, and I think that fares well for him. He seems to perform in these kind of high-pressure, busy situations. So look out for Kyle Larson everywhere in Georgia this weekend.
Yeah, so it's always every time he's in a race car, he just gets better and better, and that all leads up to Sunday. We can see him get his first drafting win at a super speedway type track. Yeah. And I'm excited to get back to this racetrack for our fifth race of the reconfigured Atlanta. Let's hear what some of our drivers have to say about it.
Driving the new Atlanta Motor Speedway, it's probably the most gut-wrenching, action-packed, intense race car experience I've ever had.
It's pretty unique. We got the Super Speedway package on it. You're wide open, but the cars are sliding around.
I mean, every time we go back there, we're off the throttle more. The packs are starting to separate into a bunch of smaller packs.
The draft definitely comes into play. Teamwork comes into play. But really, it's a two-wide type race. Three-wide doesn't happen for very long, so track position becomes very important. So it just really becomes a really unique race.
Atlanta Motor Speedway joining the ranks of drafting-style tracks after the redesign after the July 2021 race. And we don't usually go back-to-back Super Speedway racing.
Yeah, I'm excited to get back down to Atlanta. The track is wearing out every time we go there, as Daniel Hemrick pointed out. So a unique pit road with the entrance to pit road there. You got to get down, get it right, and I'm seeing if these tires wear out more. It's usually fuel mileage, but that Georgia sun might have been wearing this track out.
Yeah, you mentioned pit road. Pit road entry is basically in turn 3.
Yeah, so if you speed there, you got to go almost a half length of the whole track. So you're definitely going a lap down, maybe 2 if you have a mistake on pit road. So like I said, you got to get on pit road, get it right the first time, and get back out on the pack.
Well, Atlanta Motor Speedway certainly providing challenges to drivers of all 3 of our top series. So let's take a look at that schedule. Things kick off with the action in the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series on Saturday. I'm now joined by Erica Davis, sports betting analyst and longtime NASCAR fan. And it's easy money with E because she is setting us up for the best bets of the weekend as the NASCAR Cup Series heads to Atlanta. So what bets are on your list this week, Erica?
Well, this is my home track, so I'm super excited about this race. And if you've been keeping up with me, you know that one of my favorite markets to bet on in NASCAR is drivers' odds to finish in the top 3, the top 5, and the top 10. So this week for Atlanta, I'm looking at a few drivers whose odds I like to finish in the top 5. First up, Corey LaJoie at plus 500, where a $10 bet on him would win you a total of $60. Now, Corey finished 4th at Daytona last week, and he has finished in the top 5 in 2 of the last 4 races at Atlanta. And like I said last week, if Earnhardt Jr. is riding with him, then he must be on to something. This could be his breakout year. Corey to finish in the top 5. I like that spot this weekend. Second on my list is Austin Cindric at plus 320. Now, a $10 bet on him would win you a total of $42. He was running in the top 5 last week at Daytona before he ended up wrecking out. So we know that Atlanta is another super speedway, and he's shown that he can run generally well at those races. He also finished 3rd in this race back in summer of 2022. And then finally, my last driver whose odds I like to make the top 5 is our reigning Daytona champ, our reigning Atlanta champ, William Byron at plus 180. He's run twice in this configuration. He won in March 2022, so he's got a 50-50, 500 win rate in Atlanta at this iteration of the track, so I think that's a really good spot for him as well.
Next up, we're looking at exacta bets, and this is a new term for me that I'm not familiar with. So give me a little bit of insight on what exactly we're talking about.
So exacta bets, Kim, to me are really, really fun. This is typically the kind of bet that you see in horse racing, but every now and then you can find an exacta bet for NASCAR odds. And it's precisely what it sounds like. Picking the exact order of the drivers who will finish 1st and 2nd and in that exact order. So these odds are going to be super long because it's a really, really hard spot to predict, but it's fun and it keeps you on the edge of your seat until the very end of the race, that is, unless your drivers wreck out before. So the first exacta that I am eyeing is Hamlin to finish 1st, Byron to finish 2nd. That's plus 6,500, where a $10 bet would win you a total of $660. The second one that I'm considering, Kim, on the exacta front is Byron to finish 1st, Christopher Bell to finish 2nd at plus 9,000. That would win you a total of $910. Finally, the third exacta bet, if you will, that I'm looking at is the any other market. And that just means that you don't see any of the combos that you think will actually happen. That's a really, really juiced number at minus 290. So maybe considering throwing a little bit more on minus 290 so that you can win some of your money back if your other two don't end up hitting.
Well, super speedway races are kind of wild card races. It's always hard to pick one winner or even the top 2 finishers like the exacta bet. So what if a fan is looking for a bet where they don't have to choose any driver?
Well, exactly. So if you don't want to choose any driver, you can bet this weekend on there being overtime. Some books have yes to overtime. And right now, the best price that I have found is plus 150, which again, a $10 bet at plus 150 would only win you $25. And coming off of the weekend we had last week at Daytona, where depending on the subreddit that you're reading, depending on the social media threads you're reading, a lot of people think that we should have had overtime in Daytona. Well, here is your chance, guys, to throw some money on there being overtime in Atlanta. And fun fact, the last time we had overtime in Atlanta was in 2016. So could this be the year? Throw some money on it if you think so.
All right, great information, Erica. We'll see you next week as we look ahead to Las Vegas. Thank you again for joining us. And as you're making those bets, you might want to look at the past history at Atlanta. So last year, Joey Logano took home the hardware in the spring, and it was William Byron in victory lane in the summer. Here's a look back at last year's action from Atlanta Motor Speedway.
The car's coming down to the start-finish line, and the green flag is out. Austin Cindric trying to go around Joey Logano to win the stage. It's Cindric, 3 wide at the start-finish line.
Harvick gets sideways. He's spinning on turn 2. 3, 4 cars involved. The big one happens on turn 2. Here comes Logano. He gets to the back bumper of Keselowski. Where did he come from? And here comes Corey LaJoie. He'll race his way to 3rd.
Joey Logano will win by 2 car lengths.
And we are heading to back-to-back speedways. This is the first time I can remember going from one drafting track right into another. What's that mean for these competitors?
Well, I hope some of them have cooled off. We saw a lot of angry drivers, including Ryan Blaney. He was not happy after the dual races. I imagine he wasn't happy after the Daytona 500 either.
I don't think anybody in our 12 team was happy with the way Daytona ended as fast as we were. But like you said, usually after Daytona 500, if a guy doesn't push you or hangs you out or maybe wrecks you, you kind of have some time to get over it, things smooth over before you get to Talladega. Those guys are going to have all that stuff fresh on their minds. So, like Corey LaJoie, and at the end of the race, he said, we're not friends. So I think some guys are going to have a lot less friends than they went to Daytona with heading into Atlanta.
Yeah, it sounds like there might be a lot of drama. On top of that, we're seeing less of the manufacturer allegiance than we've seen in past years at super speedways. Denny Hamlin said it best during Daytona 500 Media Day. On super speedway racing, he said it's the selfish guy who wins the race. And I think we saw a little bit of that. We saw kind of different manufacturers mixing up at Daytona.
Yeah, that's something that these OEMs, it did seem that some guys got off on different strategies, and that is frustration coming out in a driver saying, oh, just be selfish. That means that something happened with his teammates he didn't like. So hopefully these OEMs get it all figured out with all their drivers. But one guy that does have it all figured out is at drafting tracks right now. Let's take a look at him.
Right now it's Austin Hill who's the Pied Piper here at Atlanta. Crossover move, Hill to take the lead.
Coming to the white, the 21, Austin Hill's going to the bottom.
Austin Hill holds him off, he wins.
Austin Hill so good at this style of racing, and once again, he's the man on point. Can they hang on? Austin Hill wins once again. He goes back to back here in Atlanta.
Austin Hill is in his third year in the Xfinity Series. He's got a new teammate this year, a ton of success in 2023, and they're looking to build off of that. But more importantly, can he go back to back?
I say yes. A couple of reasons. First of all, he's got home field advantage. He's from Georgia. This is his home track. And then I think he is one of the best super speedway racers. You look at his stats at Atlanta. He's got 2 wins. But then Daytona, 3 in a row. He's coming off that win at Daytona. There's only 3 other drivers that have been able to do that. What are their names? Tony Stewart, Dale Earnhardt Jr., and Dale Earnhardt.
Yeah,
that's good company.
He's in good company. And speaking of being in good company, being an RCR, right? That 21 car, before the Gibbs Xfinity cars, before the Penske Xfinity cars' success, that 21 car was the one being back in the Reese's days, and they are rejuvenating that whole program. A lot of the old school guys, when I look at who's in victory lane, there are a lot of the old school RCR guys that maybe wanted to come off the road, not do the Cup Series, and they're with him, and that team is built for success.
Yeah, anytime you're super speedway racing, you can't count out the RCR cars, whether it's the Cup Series or the Xfinity Series. Austin obviously proving himself in the Xfinity Series, and on super speedways and trucks, you got to win at Daytona in the Truck Series. But again, we're looking to see if he can go back-to-back this weekend. You can catch Austin in the Xfinity Series race. That's 5 p.m. Eastern on FS1. And Austin has certainly made a name for himself in the NASCAR Xfinity Series. And there's more to come this year.
This is the make or break moment.
Oh my goodness.
Not just for the day, but for the years to come. This is where a race isn't just about the race. It's about the doors it can open.
That kid is amazing.
The number of fans wearing your number. This is the chance to carve your name into the history books.
Now, we all know about the big show on Sunday, the Am Better Health 400, but there's so much going on at and around Atlanta Motor Speedway this weekend. What are some of the things that you are looking forward to most?
It's hard to choose. There's so many great things. How about picking your next favorite driver by heading over to the quarter-mile track? We got Bandoleros and Legends there, and there could be future Cup stars there because we've seen in the past Joey Logano, Austin Dillon, William Byron, Chase Elliott get their start there. Austin Hill, that's where he started. So, again, pick your next favorite driver.
And the best part?
Oh, it's free.
It's free on a Friday. So, yeah, Friday evening, right on the front stretch if you're there. But if I'm there this weekend and I'm camping, it all starts on Thursday.
What are you doing? You got a family? What are the kids going to like?
So, my kids love riding bikes, and they have the pedal power party at 4:30.
Say that 3 times fast.
Get to ride your bike around the racetrack. Then at 6:30, laps for charity. Speedway Children's Charity. You get to bring your car out on the track and take laps. So, not hot laps. I think you might just be able to drive it around, so don't get too crazy. But a ton going on leading up to the big race.
Yeah, and those laps for a good cause, so check it out. We also want to shout out Doug Rice. He's going to be the Grand Marshal for the race. Longtime broadcaster for the Performance Racing Network. It was funny, he was guest spotting on MRN for the 500, and he said he's got big shoes to fill because he's following The Rock at the Daytona 500.
Well, as long as he keeps the sleeves on, he won't have anything to worry about.
All right, well, we have told you everything you need to watch out for at Atlanta Motor Speedway. And so with that, it is time for you to set your fantasy lineups, and we got a little advice for you.
Take your pick.
My gut feeling tells me
I've already put him in the garage.
If they can execute, they can pull off wins.
that's who I'm going to pick.
Now remember, you can only use a driver 10 times throughout the regular season, but they do reset for the playoffs.
I forgot that last year.
And make sure you reset your lineup for this weekend, or it will default back to what you had at Daytona. So speaking about Daytona, a lot of wild cards running up front. So who is your wild card pick for this weekend?
I think I've picked the perfect wild card. I'm going with Daniel Suarez. You look at his stats at Atlanta, in the last 4 races, 3 of those 4 he's finished top 6, including a runner-up in the summer. And those are all the Super Speedway style races at Atlanta. And then you look at what he was able to do in the Daytona 500. He was up in the mix before he crashed out, so I think he's the perfect wild card.
Those are good numbers for the Amigo.
Yeah, what about you?
My wild card's my Amigo, my Stacking Pennies co-host Corey LaJoy.
Is he a wild card at this point?
I don't know if he is. I'm gonna call him wild card because drafting tracks are by far his best racetrack. Another top 5 in the Daytona 500 last week. His best track in Atlanta. We saw him almost win here. So hopefully he can punch his ticket into victory lane this weekend.
All right, what about garage picks? Because if we see what we saw at the Daytona 500, a lot of those cars are going to be mangled and in the garage by the end of the race. You're going to want the perfect pick to slide into your lineup.
I'm going to go out on a limb here. He just came off his best ever Cup finish. He's making the leap back to Cup from Xfinity. John Hunter Nemechek. I don't know what he's going to do this year, what Legacy Motor Club's going to do, how the 42 is going to perform, but I want to give him a chance, so I'm going to put him in my garage stall. Who's yours?
Well, I'm going to toot my own horn first. If you picked my garage pick last week, that was William Byron, you got lots of points because he took home the Harley J. Earl Trophy. So this week, my garage pick, I'm kind of going with the same theory as your garage pick. We don't know what he's going to do this season. Maybe a surprise, but Chase Elliott, based on his 2023 season, we really don't know. I know that's like, he's won there before, so he could be a great opportunity to get in your lineup if somebody else crashes out, but I don't know if he's an immediate pick.
Yeah, the Chevys are, you don't ever want to bet against the Chevys at super speedways, and I don't know. Chase Elliott, home track, this could be a sweet redemption for him to turn the season around.
Yeah, so put him in your garage in case it is a redemption race for Chase Elliott. And don't forget to set your lineups. You have until the green flag drops on Sunday to make your picks. And if you haven't started a team, it's not too late. You can hop on NASCAR.com/fantasy to start your team. And if you're looking for a league, let me just tell you, we've started one. Around the track, do a little search, join our league, and you can compete against us in NASCAR Fantasy.
It's decision time, NASCAR fans. Who gets you the points? Who gets you the wins? Who gets you the bragging rights? Who gets you the championship? Sign up and play today at NASCAR.com/fantasy.
As the white flag waves here, we always like to give out a little nugget.
We're building a nugget platter.
Yes, all the nuggets.
All the nuggets.
Lately, you guys have been trying to trick me. I heard you have some more trivia for me this week.
We do have some trivia, so here it goes. There have been 4 feature films shot at Atlanta Motor Speedway. First of all, are you a movie guy?
Depends on the movie.
Okay, so name 3 of the 4.
Well, Stroker Race, Days of Thunder. No? No Days of Thunder? Six
yes.
pack?
Right now you've got 2.
Okay.
I need one more.
Ricky Bobby.
No.
Dang, what is it?
You're so close. We should have just asked 2 of the 4.
Yeah, that's okay.
Yeah.
What are the 4?
Smokey and the Bandit 2.
Oh, yeah.
Stroker Race 6-pack. I'm impressed that you brought that one up. And then Logan Lucky was shot both at Charlotte Motor Speedway and Atlanta Motor Speedway.
Man, no Days of Thunder.
No Days of Thunder. They painted Atlanta to look like Charlotte.
Cole Trickle. No love for Cole Trickle.
Sorry.
But hey, make sure you give us some love.
Yeah, give us some love,
and tune in
please.
here each and every week to Around the Track.
We'll see you next week as we preview Las Vegas Motor Speedway.